Alright guys, welcome back to another video. I'm gonna go over how much this thing costs to build. I didn't realize that I spent that much money on it. I didn't do a whole lot to it, but just enough to take all the dollars out of my wallet. So let's get to it. Alright, so as you guys know, the last video, this thing made 580 horsepower on the dyno. And I didn't do a whole lot to it, like I said. Cam, headers, basically, that's about it. And it made a lot more power than I thought it would. I like to break down the price of what I put into this car to do this. So if anyone else is looking into buying a C6 Z06, they can look forward to paying about this much if they do the labor themselves. Now, if you go in and have all this done by a shop, it's probably gonna double, if not probably more, because these things are a lot harder to work on than any other LS that I could imagine, because of the front cradle needs to be pretty much tore out in order to get to the front part of the motor. So the cam in like any other LS is gonna be a lot easier, a lot less labor. When you're dealing with something like this, you kind of get into that rabbit hole of, while I'm in there, I might as well do this, 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 because it takes so much longer to get to, like, say the cam or the oil pump or crank pulley in a C6 Vet, rather than, like, say my truck here. Let's get to it. All right, anybody that knows anything about these LS7s, obviously, you need to get the heads fixed. The exhaust valves have issues in these things with just dropping into the motor and then grenading the motor, pretty much. Whether you have 500 miles on the car or 100,000 on the car, there's been a lot of lucky people that have made it to 100,000 without having the issue. I luckily bought this car with 73,000 on it. It had the original heads on it, so I knew as soon as I went to go buy it and bring it back home, I was going to replace the heads as soon as I could. Peace of mind knowing that my heads weren't going to cause the motor to grenade, because the LS7s are so expensive. It's not just a typical 5.3 junkyard motor you can find for pretty cheap. The LS7s are pretty expensive. I've seen them go as low as for sale for like 7,000-8,000. Up to like 15,000 from oil pan to intake. So it's pretty spendy. All right, so the first thing I did was I took the heads off the car, sent them to American Heritage Performance. They're out of California. Just for anyone who may want to buy one of these cars and not do any modifications, they just want to get the heads fixed for the sake of the issue that they came like from factory, and then get the heads put back on the car just to drive it the way it is. You can do that, and it probably would have costed about half of the amount I'm gonna say here. But, you know, I'm gonna do a cam, so I had to have all the valve springs upgraded. I upgraded the whole valve train while the heads were sent out, which is what they do there. They can send you back the heads just factory with the upgraded exhaust valves. The exhaust valves are the issue, so they'll just fix that part, send it back to you, you bolt them back on, and you're good to go. Whereas I knew I was gonna put a cam in it. I can't have an LS car and have a cam, but you just gotta do it. So I said, well, while the heads are there, I want this put on. So I had the hardened valve guides put in, upgraded the valve spring. I had packed 1207X. They're capable of doing a 700 lift, which is what the cam almost reaches to. The Race Proven Motorsports cam is a pretty big cam, so I'm glad I went with the very strong valve springs with titanium retainers, so that's all good to go. Yeah, as far as the intake valves on the LS7 heads, they're all right. The issue's all on the exhaust side. So I just had them reuse the intake valves. The exhaust valves, I had them upgrade to Farah 1597 Inconel valves. I think I'm saying that right. Upgraded, treated, and polished. So the total price of the upgraded heads with everything I needed for spec'd out for the cam that I was getting was $2,393. Once you do the upgraded heads, and you do your cam and everything, you gotta do headers of some sort. So I went with Cooks and 1 7/8 headers, 3-inch diameter, $1,566.69. That's with shipping and everything. All these prices are with shipping and everything straight to my door. And since I got the Cook's headers, and I didn't know this at the time, this kind of ticked me off a little bit. You can't use an aftermarket header and then bolt it up to your factory mid pipe, which is an H pipe on these cars. They don't line them up like that. If you get the headers of some certain brand, you have to get the X pipe or mid pipe of that certain brand to fit onto the headers. You kind of get stuck buying their mid pipe as well, which I bought the X pipe, so I had to buy the Cook's 3-inch X pipe. That was going to be $1,598.17, but there's perks to watching YouTube as much as I do, because there are people out there that make videos that are sponsored by certain parts, and this certain YouTuber I was watching was building a car like this, and he was doing the same thing I was doing for the most part. And he had a deal where if you would buy Cook's exhaust parts, you could put in his code and it would save you money. So what I did was I put in his code and it saved me $235.98. So the total for the X pipe was $1,362.19. So that saved me a little bit of money there. So I'm thankful for that, because I'm already, oh God, over 5,000 in already, just fixed heads and the exhaust. And then I had, obviously, the first thing I bought that's been sitting on the shelf before I got out this other stuff was the cam. And I had to go with the Race Proven Motorsports B3 cam. I've been watching their YouTube for 8 years now, coming on 9 years. The cam is just massive, and it surprisingly drives as good as a big cam could, I guess. So just like any cam, it's gonna cost roughly the same. But while I ordered the cam from them, I also ordered the hardened push rods. So the cam was $425, and the hardened push rods were $119. So the total was $575.12. Dude, there's this fly bugging the hell out of me, and I have to keep pausing the video. And I don't even think we own a fly swatter, so I got my handy rag here just in case, and I can't find this guy. It's bothering the hell out of me though, so. And it's really hot in here. I'm glad I didn't open the garage door today because it would be even hotter, so I'm just, bear with me here. So yeah, the cam and the push rods were $575.12. On to the OEM things that I had to replace. While I was doing everything else, I had to replace the head bolts. Obviously, they're not reusable. So the OEM head bolt set, I think I got from O'Reilly's, which I get a little bit of a deal there. The head bolt set was $49.14. And while I was there at O'Reilly's, I ended up wanting to replace, I wanted to buy a crank pulley because the Z06s don't necessarily have this issue, but the base models do. I'm not sure if the Grand Sports do, but I know for a fact that the Z06 and ZR1, they're not very popular for having this issue, but I said, you know what, I'm already in there. I gotta tear this all apart. I might as well replace what I can. So I replaced the crank pulley, like I said, because the crank pulley on the base models, they have an issue with the, I don't know if it's glue or rubber inside of the pulley comes apart and it starts rattling, and you don't wanna see that because any other vehicle, you could just reach in there, break the crank pulley loose, pull it off and put a new one on. Or this, you gotta take power steering rack out. It's just a whole lot of work to get into this. It's not worth just throwing the OEM stuff back on. It had 73,000 miles on it. Might as well replace it. So I bought a new one while I was at O'Reilly's that day. So the crank pulley and the head bolt set together was $365. The crank pulley itself though was $281. So I got that all done. The headers set the O2 sensor bungs further back in the car where the wiring wouldn't reach the O2 sensor, so you got to buy extension. I bought them from Michigan Motorsports, O2 extensions. I think you can buy them a foot longer, you can buy them 2 foot longer. So I think I just bought the 1 foot. I bought the 2 footers for the truck. I actually bought 2 of each side because obviously the exhaust on the truck's coming out the hood. It's not in the back of the truck. So I did have to buy extensions for the car though. Those were $42.78. I think while I was in there in Michigan Motorsports, I think I bought the head gaskets from there. I can't remember. I think I did. The BTR LS7 head gaskets, they were $118, $119, something like that. That's probably the only receipt I don't have. I just looked it up on Michigan Motorsports and I couldn't find the email either. I thought I had it. Every other year I'll put new spark plugs in it, but the TR6 IX NGK spark plugs were $102. I saved like maybe $5 at O'Reilly's getting them. So you add up the heads that are necessary. You need to do that when you get these cars. Everyone knows that one guy who made it to 100,000 miles without doing it. You could probably think of 3 other guys that didn't. And then also the dyno tune. The tuner's job is to pretty much get into your computer with the hardware that they've purchased and spent hundreds, maybe even thousands of hours learning how to do it. So anyone that doesn't know, if you put a whole bunch of modifications into a vehicle, every time you fire it up, the computer has no idea what's going on. You've got a cam that's sucking in more air than it should be from factory. You got blowing more air in and out of the motor, more than it knows what to do with. So it's trying to calculate and fight against what you've done to the motor. And it just has no idea what's going on. That's why it runs like crap. So the point of a dyno tune, obviously, for people that don't know, is the tuner gets into your computer and he basically teaches the computer what's going on and what's done to the engine so it can run based on what you've done to the engine as smoothly as it did from factory. But obviously it manipulates what's done to it, makes more power, fuel efficiency, whatever. Dumbed down as I think I can make it. So the tune, by the way, the tune costed $750. Pretty good deal. And that's for a naturally aspirated car. You know, if this thing had turbos on it or a supercharger or something, it's gonna cost more because they gotta spend more time being more careful with it because you don't wanna rev it out too high right off the bat. Blow something up. It's a lot less likely to do that with a naturally aspirated car. You start adding boost, it's a whole nother world. So I know the truck's gonna cost a little more for a tune, so I'm prepared for that. So the grand total, now mind you, this is not counting any fluids, you know, coolant, oil, any filters, shop supplies, anything. You know, this doesn't also count my ceramic plug wires that I'm probably going to add to this thing, because one of the plug wires is still sitting on the header and it's still melting just a little bit, but we'll deal with it for now. So those new plug wires are probably going to cost me $200-300 depending how good ones I want to get. So not counting all that, the total was $7,275.78. I got $1 left. No, but so if you are looking into getting a C6Z and you just want to leave it the way it is and get the heads fixed if they're not already, you can send the heads off, and it'll probably cost you, just to upgrade the exhaust valves and sent back to you and everything, probably between $1,500 and $2,000. And then obviously you got to buy new head gaskets, you got to buy the coolant, you got to oil, obviously, little things like that. It's definitely worth it. There's no point in risking grenading a $10,000-15,000 engine. So yeah, $7,200 and it's done. Like, if I want to do anything else with this car, if I had to guess, it all depends on what I'm going to do with the truck. If I'm going to go all out in the truck, you know, built motor eventually, trans, everything, and I'm probably not going to do a whole lot to this. I'm just going to enjoy it the way it is. But if I really wanted to do anything more to it, I'd probably do an intake manifold, maybe an MSD, fuel injectors. The tuner did tell me if I wanted to do anything else to this thing, I needed to put injectors in it because it was maxed out. So I'd probably do bigger injectors, MSD intake. That's probably it. Just to break that 600 horsepower mark. That'd be pretty cool. But then you're looking into, I'm gonna need a clutch eventually. The more I drive it, I'm gonna wear the clutch out. It's still got the factory LS7 clutch from 2008. It's got like 76. I think I bought this car 4 years ago now, and I've put 3,500 miles on it. But it also took, I think we almost put 1,000 miles on it just to go get it. Maybe 800 miles. So I mean, I've probably put 3,000 miles on it. Eventually, the stock clutch is gonna let go, especially at the power that it's at right now. So I'll probably have to put a clutch in, and I will not be doing that in a garage without a lift, because it is a nightmare on these cars. So what I'll probably do, if we don't have a new house by then with a shop and a lift and everything, I'm just gonna have a shop do it, and not your local dealership. I'm gonna actually send it to a performance shop, have them put an upgraded clutch in it, something that's gonna last forever. That's about it. That's all we got. Cam, headers, dyno tuned at 580 wheel, did pretty good, $7,200. Obviously you can buy one of these as low as 28 maybe, if you find one that's kind of been driven hard and maybe not perfect. But they can go as high as 40, 50,000. I'm right in the middle of there, so it's made me pretty happy since I've got it. Especially because when I was in the market for buying one of these, it had to be black. It had to be an 08 and newer, because I didn't want the 06, 07 with the, it had 06 and 07, they come with good transmissions, but these are just even better. So they've all come with the same motor, so they all have that same head issue that you need to fix. When I bought it, we drove all the way to Pennsylvania to get it, because it was the only one at the time that I could find that was black. It was under 40,000. It had to be an 08 to 13. I love the fact that it's a 2LZ. It's got the fully loaded interior, which I didn't really care about that, but just having that now, it's really nice to have. So that's gonna do it, guys. That's the money I put into this car to be where it's at right now, and I couldn't be happier with it. So I'm ready to enjoy this thing, share it with other people, and maybe get some reactions to some passengers. So that'll be fun. So if you're still watching, thanks for listening. Blab about how much money I had to put in this thing to get it to where it's at right now. So like, subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you guys in the next video.